Now, One Piece chapter 1070, I'm gonna say it right now. This is interesting. Kizaru is making his move. This is interesting. They're sending battleships to Egghead. This is about to get good, man. This is about to get really, really, really good. Yo, so the chapter opens up, last one left off, where you got Luffy. He's fighting against Rob Lucci. Sentomaru's been taken down. However, as Luffy's checking on him, we find out that Sentomaru tried to block the attack, still alive. Rob Lucci is going super ham at this point because he's like, wait a second, as long as you're still conscious, we can't actually control the Seraphim. And he begins to start trying to attack him. And that's where Luffy steps in and delivers a huge gum whip onto Rob Lucci. And what I like about this is that as the battle starts ramping up even further, Chopper is carrying Bonney. They're running out of the way. Jinbe has Atlas. Luffy's just getting super goofy with it. He's like, man, I can't slow down the spinning. Chopper's freaking out. You see the evacuations going on. You see the Mihawk child version of himself just running through, destroying everything in the way. The Jinbe clones doing the same thing. And we find out something very interesting. So these miniature 7 warlord clones that they have, they're actually going to continue growing because we get the line that they're only still children. And it gets called an ominous sign. That means they're going to get stronger as they get older, which, wow, that is crazy. And I like how one of the things we see in the chapter is that it basically confirms what I was suspecting earlier, which is that the world government made these clones of the 7 warlords. That's the whole reason why they got rid of the 7 warlords themselves. They no longer served a purpose. And I like that this once again just shows you more of the shady nature of the world government itself, because at the end of the day, it does not matter how useful you think you are to the world government. You're only as useful as the last thing that you've done. It's always an update your resume type thing. And just as things are happening in our own world where like AI is replacing a lot of jobs, you're seeing something very similar here. That's basically AI right there. I thought that was really cool to see that. And I like how we see in this chapter, they're not just mindless killing machines. They actually have their own personalities. And that might be something dangerous for the world government itself. Because as they get older and they experience more things, they might just be recreating the problem that comes from the 7 warlords, even though they have those command controls over them. At some point, that is going to bite them. And so we learn more from Dr. Vegapunk, not just about that, but also about the fact that Vegapunk is telling us, like, yeah, you know, making devil fruits, you can make artificial devil fruit. Right now, the zone types, they're the only types that can be produced artificially. However, he starts talking about how there have been experiments with Logia fruits and Paramethea fruits, and we find out that with the Seraphim that we're seeing, essentially that green blood that they have, that's that liquid running through their arm. Because he says with Paramethea types, he says, I found as long as you have the user's bloodline elements, you can synthesize and administer a special kind of blood to confer those powers to others, which is what we're seeing here. And I like how Oda takes the opportunity to show that the little girl version of Boa Hancock has the same power. So I thought that was pretty cool to see that. And what I like there is that while that's going on, you see the version of Kuma is continuing to start attacking. And Robin, as she's watching all this, is like, oh my God, they're meant to be a threat to us. Because Robin, at the end of the day, she has been running from the world government for most of her life. And Nico Robin can see how these things can be deployed as the worst possible matchup nightmare for a lot of pirates out there. Because at the end of the day, the 7 warlords on their own as individuals are incredibly powerful. But now you have potentially stronger versions because these kids are eventually going to become adults. And they're going to be deployed together. That's absolutely insane. You can look at this as a long-term plan where essentially they're looking at the 4 emperors and like, we can't go to war with you right now, but later on, we might be going to war with you using these. So I thought this was really cool just from a long-term storytelling aspect. And what I like here is that as that battle is going on, Luffy and Rob Lucci just continues those crazy elements that we saw when Luffy versus Kaido was happening. You get this giant Godzilla version of Luffy, and Luffy is just biting the area and trying to chomp down on Rob Lucci. Rob Lucci's freaking out. Luffy ends up using a Gum rocket, and he hits Rob Lucci so hard that Rob Lucci's like, oh my God, where did this force come from? How is he getting this strong? And I like how we get this moment where like Luffy's like, I can feel my mind slipping from me, which that's just showing you a little bit like Luffy, while he's clearly gotten stronger using Gear 5, there are still limitations for Luffy here. And what I like after that is that when Jinbe is given the compliment to the Boa Hancock clone, she starts blushing. She's like, oh my God, you know, such insolence. But you can tell it's like kind of like the Chopper thing, just how Chopper gets compliments and everything, and Chopper starts, you know, blushing and twitching and fiddling and everything. You're seeing something similar here because he's like, you're a much nicer version of Boa Hancock. So we're seeing that again. These Seraphim, they have their own personalities. I, again, think this might be something bigger coming in. Now, as Luffy starts running and trying to meet back up with his crew, they get inside of one of these machines. They start going up towards the tower, and Bonnie's finally woke up and she's getting caught up to speed on everything that's going on. And when they finally do arrive up in that area, you can tell that like they're trying to go ahead and get Vegapunk out of the situation they're in because CP0 is coming for him. And what I like about this is that as this is going on, Vegapunk kind of puts it out there saying like, I got to go with you guys. Think of it from this perspective. It might be fate that one of the Emperor's crews, you guys, are the ones who actually found me. And he said, you don't understand why the world government wants me out. Think of it for a second. If I'm the greatest mind on the planet and I was your ally and I was making all these weapons and etc. for you, what would you do if that greatest mind ever was suddenly a free agent? You would do whatever it takes to either secure it or eliminate it. And the world government basically sent CP0 there to eliminate it. So I thought that was really, really telling because, again, it's doing a really great job of showcasing how deplorable the world government is and how far they are willing to go to maintain the stranglehold they have over the world, because at the end of the day, information is power. And I like how like Nami's like, oh, okay, so he be a thorn in my side, go ahead and ice him. And we have this moment where you see the split reaction with some of the Straw Hats when Vegapunk's like, basically, I'm going to be riding on your ship. We're going to get out of here. Frankie's super excited because, again, Frankie's body is something that he definitely will want to go over with Dr. Vegapunk, especially just given the long backstory and interest that Frankie would actually have there. And as Luffy is just laughing and taking in all the excitement, Bonnie's like, look, I'm not done with this dude. I told you he's got to put my father back to normal. And as that's going on, we essentially see that the Seraphim have now been placed back under control of CP0, and they're going over their plan for how they're going to take out the Straw Hats. And Rob Lucci says nothing escapes this island, not even a single ant. And as that's going on, we get the shot of Kizaru where he's like, escape should be easy for the Straw Hat crew. However, if he leaves, he's going to find out that things are not going to go the way that he wants. Send every battleship possible to Egghead. So we're getting a confrontation. I like this, man. Like Luffy versus Rob Lucci, the rematch, cool. However, I've always wanted to see where does Luffy stack up against those admirals. Like we've seen it in the past, like when Akainu just absolutely put the fear of God in Luffy when you got to Marineford, and Luffy has like a enemy for life there. Kizaru did the stuff that Kizaru did back on Sailboat. Aokiji absolutely bodied this man after the Long Ring Island arc. So I'm gonna be very curious to see where this new version of Luffy stacks up, because you know I might be falling in the trap of Admiral Disrespect, as you guys have been saying for years now. I might be falling into that trap, but I kind of think Luffy could take Kizaru now. And it might just be me saying like, oh, I want to see Luffy whoop down on one of these admirals. But I do think this is going to be a great benchmark for Luffy here. But that's going to be my chapter question, you guys. Do you think right now Luffy on his own could defeat one of the admirals, or could he potentially defeat all three admirals if he fought them by himself? But so always, guys, if you like anything I had to say, don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much for watching until then. Have an awesome day, guys.